Part 2. Jeremy,
Yes. All right.
what do you want to talk about today?
So I'm going to talk about my ode to reading.
Ode to reading?
Yes. Better yet, my ode to loving books.
Mm-hmm.
So, our first part of the topic today, we talked about things we couldn't live without, and I briefly mentioned books. And I think you could agree with that on certain books.
Yeah. Well, I think books are more than, what they are. So yeah, I would say that
Fiction, nonfiction.
Yeah, I agree with that a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm just going to go through a list of a couple of the books that have really made a difference in making me a more creative, smarter, intelligent person.
Cool.
Conversation starters.
Cool.
So at the moment, I actually just picked this one up yesterday. The War of Art. I don't know if you can see it there.
Yeah.
So I put together a list of 3 yesterday in preparation for this cast. And while he was at work, I picked this book up, started reading it. I'm already halfway through it. This might already be in my top 3 favorite books of all time.
Really?
Yes.
Break through the blocks and win your inner creative battles.
So we'll put that.
I'll check it out.
It's funny because it's not only a play on a famous book, The Art of War by Sun Tzu, but it's really timely for us because we've been wanting to start this podcast for a while.
Yeah.
And the entire first section of this book is about procrastination and starting a creative endeavor. So it's about as timely as you can get with a book. So
yeah,
felt like that was pretty funny. Moving on to the next book, I kind of mentioned it earlier in the cast, was The Hobbit. It's my all-time favorite book.
Yeah.
I mean, it's got adventure, love the characters.
Yeah.
So, movies weren't as good, though.
No, movies were not good. No.
And they...
I guess that's kind of controversial of an opinion for me, but I didn't like the movies, so...
Yes, it could have been one movie.
Yeah.
It really could have been one movie, and they stretched it to 3 movies. But yeah. And then the last book would probably be Elon Musk's biography, because if you don't know who Elon Musk is, I don't know who you are, because he is incredible. He started Tesla, SpaceX, was part of PayPal, started a company before that was basically GPS before GPS was around. He wants to create an underground tunnel in LA to San Fran, is it?
I don't believe it's underground. I think it's like an above ground, like...
a wind tunnel.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah. But yeah, I know what you're talking about.
If you're able to start just one of those in your life, you'd be incredible.
Yeah.
And he's going to do 5 of them.
Yeah.
So his book is really inspiring because he came from South Africa during the apartheid.
Yeah. And
was bullied, beaten up, and left the country at 17 to go start out on his own. So he's inspiring. So that's kind of a theme, I guess, I find in books is they're the best way to get a little inspiration outside of real people.
But so you got books, you got reading. When on the timeline of your life does reading really start to take a hold of you? Because I think everyone can kind of take like their attachment to a hobby of theirs and put it back at like a specific point. So reading, when did that become like a big thing in your life?
It's funny. I always hated reading. Mm-hmm. The longest time, I hated it because growing up I was all about video games.
Yeah. Video
games are outside. You know that when you're a young boy, you got energy. So you want to either release it by running until you pass out or,
I know. I looked at the side cam and I was like, I better mess with it.
Or playing video games till you pass out, which you and I did a couple of those benders till 6, 7 a.m. where you're not moving and you're just drinking Mountain Dew Code Reds at the time until you're just...
what a time to be alive. Yeah, I had to hop off that bender.
A quick side tangent is it's so funny. When you're 14, you could stay up all night, maybe get 3-4 hours of sleep, and you're fine the next day.
Yeah.
We're only 23 now. We're not old. We're still pretty young, pretty energetic. I do that one night now, and it takes me 3 days to catch up.
Yeah, yeah. It's like you land right on your ass the next morning, and you're like, oh god.
You just get these black lines of death.
Yeah, I can't pull those late nighters like that anymore. I feel like an older man now.
Yeah, but the thing that got me really into reading is I've always liked writing though, which is kind of weird because a lot of times people like both. They either like to read and write or they don't like to do either. But I always loved writing.
Yeah.
But I never was good at using good words or whatever. I don't have good words. I speak bad English, but
gotta use your good words.
So it was a teacher of mine who just always just said, well, read whatever interests you. And I don't know why, but that simple concept never entered into my psyche. So I was like, okay. I loved the Lord of the Rings movies. Yeah. And I saw the books, and I was like, there's no way. Yeah. The books are like that thick for one, and the entire collection's that big. I'm like, there's no way. Unless The Hobbit comes into play, because it's a short 200-page book, quick read, easier, and it's made for children, which is sad to admit when you're like 18 and you're reading a children's book, and you're like, this is changing my life.
To it and you're like, oh man.
And shows you how much smarter kids were back in the day. Yeah. But that was kind of the key that opened Pandora's box. From there, I just started using it to find new interests. May it be business, philosophy, and art. You know, so it was my wormhole. It took me down. Was it Through the Looking Glass? Was it, or what was the Alice?
Through the Looking Glass.
Yes. So,
I think it's kind of similar for me. It's kind of like a weird happenstance of things that happen in my life to make me an English literature major. But I trace reading back a lot further back than going to college. I think it probably goes all the way back to sometime in my childhood, but probably around like middle school is when I really started getting into reading, because I did like I did what every kid does. I read Harry Potter. Well, I guess most kids.
Yeah.
I guess most kids. I read Harry Potter, and I read like some of the Aragon books and stuff like that, and I kind of took fascination into like older like pirate legacy books, because I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah. And
I can't remember the name of the series. It's going to drive me crazy, but I was super invested in them. They were like, I want to say around like 200 pages a piece. So if you know what I'm talking about, be sure to leave a comment. But I cannot remember for the life of me.
What was the one that just got put out on Netflix?
Ooh, I have no idea.
Oh,
there's a pirate show on Netflix?
No, not the pirate show. The Lemony Snicket one.
Oh, A Series of Unfortunate Events. That was a big one too, because I bought all those books like as they came out. That was
the only series I think I read from kindergarten to age 18. Maybe.
That was definitely a big one in my lifetime. I'm sorry, I'm like developing a cough as we like record this. But I followed those for a long time. And then the Jim Carrey movie came out.
Oh,
and I was just like,
it's done.
Oh God. Thank God that's a relic of the past that we don't have to really think about, because Netflix is blessing us with something.
It's kind of like the Spider-Man ones.
But
they just kept throwing out bad
ones. They just got better and better. Yeah. But I think reading was a really primary part of my life until probably about high school. And that's where reading kind of died off for me as other interests developed.
As they start always assigning you reading.
I think I went from reading to learning a foreign language. I think that was kind of like my drop-off point for reading.
Yeah.
Like at least as heavily as I was, because I would do like the book club stuff in elementary school, where like you read so many books, you get a coupon for like Pizza Hut or something.
At that point, food's just fueling you.
And then it was required for us in middle school or in junior high and all that. Mm-hmm. We actually had to for some program. I can't remember the name of it, but so that kind of kept me in there. And then going into high school, I just totally dropped out when I started taking Japanese. But I like to think that I'm kind of coming back into a second era of reading in my life, only because I have to.
Yeah.
So I feel like I'm reading more interesting stories now than I ever did, or like even like philosophical works, or deconstructionist works like Jacques Derrida and some others that I have to read for a lit theory class I'm in. But I think reading is super important.
No, I'm not gonna go that far, but no. I think it's just anymore. Like I was saying in the earlier part, it's just, and I'm all about the old school books. I can't do the Kindle things. Yeah. I hate reading books.
Like on a screen?
I hate reading books on screens. I see people on planes or airports or on trains anywhere on reading Kindle books. I just can't do it. I'm staring at a screen so often anymore. It kind of unplugs me.
You know, I think I comprehend better when I read off of a screen now. I think I kind of picked that up when I was doing more like intensive research into bands and stuff like that.
Yeah.
When you and I would just go on Wikipedia binges and like read like basically full histories of bands and stuff like that.
See, and that's another thing with the internet. It just always feels like you're going and reading and reading. There's no end. With a page, it's simple. That's where you're at. And the next page.
I disagree. Because you've got a sidebar, so you know how far down the page you are.
Yeah.
But I do think there is a certain detachment when you're reading online, as opposed to, it's nice to have something physically in your hand that you're reading, and it's kind of, I don't want to say it's interactive, because reading is reading.
It's about as passive as you can go.
But it's quote unquote interaction that you don't necessarily get the same sort of interaction in regards to like reading a digital book.
Yeah.
So I think reading physical books can kind of keep you more in the story. But I don't know. That's a tough one. I wonder if there's any studies into
if
like
you can read.
Well, I'm thinking more along the lines of people losing focus of what they're reading while they're reading.
Yeah.
If the act of like literally just flipping the page of a book uses more brain activity than just like swiping to get to the next page.
You know what's crazy is, and this only happens, when I get long periods, is, half the time if you're reading, you're doing this. If you're just at the end of the day and you're tired.
Yeah.
But, you sometimes get at that zone, where time starts to go away and you get in long flow. I remember I sat down one evening, and this was like 4 hours before I had to go to class.
Yeah.
I haven't read this book. I'll read like the first 20 pages. We'll just see what happens. And I ended up sitting there. I read the whole thing, and 3 hours had passed.
Yeah.
But it didn't even feel like time was moving.
Just kind of happens.
I don't know if you've ever gotten into that, but it's the coolest thing whenever you can get into like flow.
I think I slip into that with like video games.
Yeah.
Especially like when you're right at the end, and you're kind of like encapsulated by this plot that's happening, this moving plot, as things just kind of juggernaut forward. And you're like, well, I got to do the next thing and I got to do the next thing. And then you complete that and you look down at the time and you're like, it's 1 a.m. And I have to get up in 5 hours.
Yeah.
So, I think all forms of like quote unquote literature, you can experience that.
Yeah.
But I think I could definitely see how reading can do that too, because you kind of just, it's a similar thing where you just get into the plot.
We could talk about that sometime. Just getting into flow. Just we could talk a whole cast just on that, because I mean, how many times? Quick backstory: we were in a band together and we still jammed together. But how many times do you think when we were just playing, or you were just practicing, or listening to a record, and you're just playing, you're like, all right, I'll go to the next song, and then you realize you looped the record.
It's one of those things where like you go to play one track off of an album, but you know other tracks off the album on guitar or something like that, and you play the one and the next one just automatically pops on and you just keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do kind of get into like this automated flow. Yeah.
You wonder if musicians who play like the same things every night, almost in the same order, you wonder if they just turn off. If their brain just turns off for an hour,
you've got to imagine. It's like any other job. I mean, not exactly, but I think
job where you get to play in front of people every night.
You definitely get into an automated thing. Yeah. Some bands are a little bit better about remembering things that happen at concerts than others. But if
you ever watch like the old YouTube clips where bands will be like, "Thank you, Seattle," and they'll be in like Los Angeles.
Guns N' Roses did that?
Oh no, they didn't.
Yeah, recently on their new tour. I think it was in Australia.
Oh my!
They said the name of one city and they meant to say.
I saw. Did they say they were in Sydney, but they were in Melbourne?
Something like that.
Because
if
they
said
it
was, yeah.
That's like saying you're in New York when you're in LA. That's the kind of.
Yeah, I think it was like an honest mistake. I think it was on the prompter or something like that.
Yeah.
And Axel read it, and then was like, "Oh shit! I mean, I'm in Sydney, not Melbourne," or something like that. I don't remember.
You don't live that down.
Yeah. It's like, it doesn't matter because you know where we are.
Yeah.
I can't do it. The throat's burned.
Neither can he, dude. He must like gargle a tablespoon of honey before every performance.
I cannot believe that not only can a man do that, but he's also doing AC/DC shows now.
Is he still?
Yeah, apparently there's a rumor going around they're doing a record.
I don't know how Angus Young can stand upright anymore.
I don't think he does. I think he's more of like this now.
You kind of think like over time we already do this as people. When you have to play the guitar and you play the guitar a certain style like this,
he already does the hunch over when he kicks the leg out. You know.
Oh yeah, like his spine is like a perfect like semicircle or whatever.
Yeah. See an X-ray of him and he's just like a C,
Ooh.
like a letter C. They gotta like roll him out.
And their lead
for the
singer,
show.
he sings like the kind of
Who? Axl Rose?
Well, their old one.
Brian Johnson.
I don't know how he could sing like that for 30, 40 years.
Brian Johnson,
kind of sing like it. Like,
yeah, he's like, gotcha, ow! Yeah. I saw AC/DC with Brian Johnson, but that's a story for another day. It was awesome. And they play a good dad rock concert because they get you out of there at like 10:30.
Oh,
and you're
man.
home before midnight. So
and they probably started on time too, didn't they?
yeah, like right on.
That's
the
what
dot.
Paul McCartney did.
Right
the
on the
exact
dot.
same time. 7:30 was on. Played 2.5 hours. He was out.
Yeah, sick piece.
He was
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah, he was awesome when I saw him too. But anyways, reading.
Yes.
Definite must.
Yeah, oh yeah. Definitely.
Definitely like me some reading. Feel like I'm kind of getting more into that period of my life again. Are there any books that you feel like you haven't read that you want to read? Do you have like a list of maybe a couple books that you want to read, or?
Right now, I'm trying to get back into creative or fiction reading. For like the last 2-3 years, it was philosophy, business, biographies. Oh my god, I probably read about 30 biographies the last year.
I fell down that hole too.
Because it's so interesting following people. But yeah, my biggest struggle is getting into fiction. Because I'll find maybe one author and I'll just read them. And I don't follow any other rabbit hole. So I need to get more into the fiction world.
I got a couple books I can shoot you.
Yeah, or if anyone has any good recommendations, either classic fiction. My biggest one is finding, I guess, new people who put out.
I'm gonna put it out there for you, just in case you haven't read it, and for the audience, if you haven't read it. Kurt Vonnegut's Slaughterhouse-Five.
I haven't read that.
It's a must.
Is it?
I've got it hardback. You can borrow it.
All right.
It's weird. It is a weird book, but it is but it's really good.
There is one, but I'm almost a bit afraid of reading 1984.
I don't know. I think everyone should read 1984. Working Podcast Book Club. Read 1984. Tell us what you think about it.
Or we're living in it.
Are we living in 1984 or 2017? Comment down below.
Maybe that's the sequel. Maybe that's the sequel.
Maybe that's the prequel.
Ooh.
And on that note, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning in to the first ever Workin' Podcast. My name is Mike.
My name is Jeremy, and we'll be seeing you again very soon.
Yes, sir. Or ma'am.
Or both. Or unicorns, if there are any unicorns watching our channel.
Sir, ma'am, or other, please specify.
Yes, or Sasquatch. We know you're out there.
Leave a comment down below.
A like, a dislike, we'll take anything.
Yeah, let's get this. Smash that like button. Let's get this video at 30 million likes. I know that doesn't exist. Maybe 40 million likes, though. I mean, come on. What would impress the YouTube people more? 30 million likes? 40 million likes? 88 subscribers? 88 million subscribers.
You know what's funny is we're going to do, for every landmark we hit, we're going to do celebrations, and then we're going to probably watch ones where people hit 1 million or 2 million. We're going to hit 50. We're going to throw a party, probably.
You get your traditional channel thank you videos for hitting milestones. We're just going to do really dumb shit if we hit awesome milestones.
Oh, yeah.
Expect, like, me, like breaking glass with my head for, 100 subscribers.
Yeah, expect...
I'm putting it out there right now.
I'll probably jump into an ice bath and nothing but a Speedo. If we can get to 500, I will jump into an filled ice bath in a Speedo.
You gotta give the people what they want, because we already have the Ice Bucket Challenge from 1 million years ago on the YouTube channel.
We do. But
That's
I wasn't,
a relic from time.
I wasn't in a
we're gonna
Speedo.
We're going to put you in an ice bath.
Oh, yeah.
Can we get a bear in the ice bath? For 200 subscribers, can we put you in an ice bath with a bear?
Is it a real bear?
Stay tuned.
Stay
We'll
tuned.
reveal that at a
There we
later
go.
date. Be sure to click subscribe if you want to see more of the Workin' podcasts, and let us know what you think, and we will see you on the next one.
Stay tuned.
Until then.